What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Making Podcasts Great Again. I am your tech stuff guy, Jay Nog, and we are here, of course, with the President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, how are you today?
We're doing great. Breaking news: Cooper Flag, and that's Flag Mike Pence, was just is going to Dallas. It was a big upset, but he's going to a red state. He's going to Texas. So always good to see a great white basketball player make him. We're gonna make basketball great again in Dallas, which is in a red state. So we're very happy about that. Things are doing so well under me. Great economy, great Pope, great China, great Cooper flag, uh, Great Lakes, by the way. We also have Great Lakes now in our country. We never had Great Lakes before. Now we only had Land Lakes under Joe Biden, and now we have Great Lakes. There's like a ton of them up near like Michigan and other Trump states, the battleground states. We're battling for our Great Lakes.
Great Lakes, you never learned that mnemonic device when you went to school? Holmes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. You remember? No?
No, but I remember Roy Cohn, my lawyer with AIDS, got pneumonia. So he didn't have a mnemonic, but he had pneumonia.
Okay, it's close. It's close. Mr. President, we had an awesome guest last week, so we didn't get to answer any questions from our listeners. Lots of questions this week. Also, you were gifted a plane. I mean, you're having a good week. You were gifted a plane. How did that
Yes,
happen?
they're calling me the Qatar hero because, and sometimes they call it Qatar, and I think that's stupid. It clearly looks like Qatar. So they called me the Qatar hero, and they said to me, "Sir," yeah, well, they said it in, and then my translator said, "They want to give you a plane, sir." And I said, "Well, Allah is a Akbar because I will, it's a great plane from a great people." And they said I can have it as Air Force One, and then it will donate to my Presidential Library Foundation when I'm no longer president, which means private plane upgrade for me.
Why do you keep air quoting everything that you say?
Not everything, just Presidential Library Foundation. And I think it's great. I think it's great. And people are saying, oh, you shouldn't take that, sir. It could be a bribe from a foreign nation. No, it's not a bribe. The Supreme Court said in a recent case, I usually don't pay attention to the Supreme Court cases, but this one was very interesting. There's a difference between a bribe and a gratuity is legal. So what I did was when I said to Qatar, I said, hello, Qatar. I will accept this plane, obviously, because you think I'm such a great president. And then I just flipped an iPad over and said, what do you want to tip? 10%, 20%, a $400 million plane. And they pressed the $400 million plane option, which I thought was very generous. You usually don't get that kind of
Very.
generosity. And I said, thank you. And then the radical left is like, oh, you should turn it down. Who the hell would turn down a private plane from a foreign country that you're sometimes at war with, that you don't know what they've put in the plane in terms of weapons or surveillance or anything else? But it's okay because it's a nice gift. And you don't look, there's an old saying in the Trump family, you don't look a gift Arab in the sandal. Okay? You don't, you just don't do it. It's a bad pre. You just take the gift and you say, "Thank you, Trump. Oh Akbar. Much appreciation. Thank you."
Don't look a gift Arab in the sandal. I've never heard that one before. It's a great
Oh no,
saying.
it's a very like when somebody gives you a gift, that's you just show that you kind of you accept it with grace and gratitude, and you don't look a gift Arab in the sandal. It's a very common for. I mean, it's not like I know you're not always top with pop culture, but that's a very common saying.
I don't
Title.
know why this this saying just tickles me.
Well, don't
Look a
don't look at the
gift
same.
Arab in the sandal.
Don't do it.
I thought Guitar Hero was great too. Um, Mr. President,
I miss
so
Guitar
funny.
Hero. I
I do
used to
too.
have I used to have a Wii, a Nintendo Wii.
Hmm.
Shinzo gave it to me as a gift.
That's very nice of him.
It was, and we play, guitar was so fun, but I was never as good. Some of those people would play it at the hard level, and I do most things great, but I was like, I might as well learn how to play a real guitar at how difficult it is at the strong level. You're like, and you're like, why don't I just get a real guitar at this point? It's not fun. It's like video game fun. You want to be like slow ride, bam, 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 not.
You ever do the rock band where someone's on drums and you got the whole band together playing?
We did do the rock band, and I always it was
That's
we
fun.
would add we would add extra. I'd have like I'd say Eric get on the drums, get away from me. We'd have Don Jr. on the bass, and then I'd say Ivanka, you be a groupie who flashes me, to try to get backstage. So we are sort of did rock band plus.
I like that. Yeah, Rock Band, that was a fun game. Um, so you don't think there's a problem of you taking a plane from, um, I don't know, just not the United States, taking a plane that's going to basically you're going to travel in, and that's your plane now, and you don't know if it's bugged, you don't know if there's something inside. Like they didn't take apart the whole plane and check it, so you don't know if there's a secret surprise in there. Maybe it explodes on the 15th trip. Like you don't know anything.
No, but Cash Patel, who runs the FBI, has assured me with his cross eyes that he's going to investigate and inspect it very carefully.
So you inspect it very carefully, and you're okay. That's fine.
Tech stuff, I feel like we've been over this, but what is the Trump family saying about accepting gifts?
I don't know. You accept them.
You don't look a gift Arab in
This
the sandal. We
sorry.
just went over, what the hell? We just went over this. What do we have? Short-term, what is this, Memento? You probably didn't see
Ah,
that one. You probably didn't even see
I did
Memento.
see Memento.
Remember
Uh,
Mementos, the candy? Remember Mementos? They're fresh.
Mentos were good. I like that candy. Where are they these days? Remember Bonkers? I remember the commercials for Bonkers.
Bonkers were like Starbursts for crackheads. They were like, here's your
Yes.
Starburst, but 12 times the sugar.
Yeah, when it's with juice squeezing out in your mouth.
Oh yeah, I'd say here you go, Ivanka. It's all you and all your friends. Remember to eat the bonk. Who wants a bonkers? That was the best third grade birthday party I've ever attended.
Bonkers on Donald.
Or just you just line them up. We called it a bonkakers instead of we called it bonkakers. And I would just throw the bonkers and watch them juice up in all the third grade girls' mouths that were friends with Ivanka.
Third grade. That's awful.
Well, it's just candy. I don't know what you're thinking. It's just candy.
Uh, oh my goodness. Now, Mr. President, some good news. This is actually, I'm surprised you are looking into this, lowering pharma drugs prices. Now, pharmaceuticals is the highest grossing business in our country. Now, you're going to lower the price. Tell me where this is coming from, because I know it's not to make people happy and let people afford medicine. So, what's the reason why you're doing this?
Well, obviously, we have a multi-pronged plan for health. We're going to make America healthy again, thanks to vocal coach Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And we are going to, first of all, we're lowering the prices, but I'm raising tariffs on other countries that give us pharmaceuticals. So it sort of cancels out,
Okay.
So it's like, oh, we're going to tear, and then people say, oh, nothing's changed. And so that's part one. Part two is we're going to have people on very natural remedies, thanks to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So they're not even going to need their pharmaceuticals. We're bringing leeches back for a very affordable price.
Okay.
We're going to do ayahuasca and like heat lodges are going to be affordable. We're going to
Sweat
make heat
lodges.
lodges great again. We're going to do psychedelics. I'm not going to do them, but we're going to let people do psychedelics. And we're also going to um,
How about stem
let
cells?
we're looking into that. I don't know. Maybe if you can, we're gonna try to sell them. We'll see how much they cost in the supermarket. I don't know. They might be more than eggs, but it's the point is, I've asked through executive order. I have said, please lower your drug costs, and we'll see if the companies do it.
We did say please, so there's no reason why they shouldn't, listen to you.
Right, it's called manners. Okay,
Hmm.
although the radical left probably wants it to be womaners. You know, they hate men. They hate men so much on the left. So they're like, oh, your womaners are terrible. Well, it's called manners. Shut up. And so we're very excited about health. We're gonna, we're tariffing drugs, but we're also asking drug companies with great manners to lower the prices. And we're hoping they do it. We're hoping some of the CEOs are like the law firms where they want to kiss my ass and just sort of make me happy. Because if they don't, I'm going to have a lot of sick people with not getting drugs or paying too much for their drugs, and they're going to probably get mad at me. And I'll, of course, blame Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but they might still blame me.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's a step in the right direction to lower the cost of these pharmaceutical drugs. I think also, I don't know, looking into mental health and not so many drugs being handed out. We can look into that maybe after we lower the prices of them.
Oh, excuse me, tough tech stuff Rogan in the house. Uh-oh.
But it's good that you're doing something positive for the American people and people who need these
Well, we'll
drugs.
see. We'll see if I'm doing, right now I just, an executive order asking
Right.
people to stop. So it's
An
not
executive
exactly the
ask.
most, yeah, it's not even, it's not the most powerful executive order I've done.
No.
We just sort of, I might as well have sent a Hallmark card to Pfizer and said, hey, buddy, just thinking of you. You mind lowering the price of drugs? Thank you. We go, V. I
I
just
thought you
like
were gonna
that
keep
song.
going. All right. I thought you were gonna
My
keep
favorite
going.
song, though, is Ozempic. The original Ozempic during the pandemic, when that song, things are getting clearer. I feel free. Got my skin, and that's on me. That's, oh, it was, as the blacks would say, a bop.
Now, Mr. President, what do you think of the new Pope being American?
Well, the Vatican was very concerned about Pope tariffs. I had said prayers were going to be ta tariffed at 200% if they didn't name
You're gonna
a
have Pope
Pope.
tariffs?
Well, if they didn't name an American Pope, it was going to be 200% tariff on all prayers. And, they were very upset at that. And, but you got to be tough. You got to be tough with with the Vatican, they call it. And so they picked this guy, Robert. He's now Leo the 14th, and very talented guy. He seems a little woke, but he's also, I respect the fact that they said he's voted Republican, and he's from Chicago, and he's tough because he'd be praying and have to dodge the bullets. So this is a tough pope.
So you approve?
And imagine his name was Bob Pope. Yeah, he'd be a good comedian.
What would your Pope name be?
Pope Girth the First.
You'd have to be the first, right?
Well, I don't think there's been a Pope Girth before. It'd be weird if you were like, I'm Pope Girth the 15th. And the Germans would be like, oh, is that a German name? I'd say, sure, sure, it's a German name. Girth, Pope Girth the First. But really, everybody in America would be like, that's the girthy Pope.
I like that Pope name. So you're in favor of the American Pope from Chicago.
So far, obviously, we have to see what he does. There's hints that he's a little woke, but there's also hints that maybe he's not as woke as the last woke Pope.
When do you plan on seeing him?
Oh, well, what he hasn't, he can call me, I'm the president.
Right.
Okay. He can, we can meet. We can meet. I'd love to meet him. I think, we have great support among the Catholics in this country. And
Yes.
I think it would be tremendous to have an American Pope, because now that means we have the number one faith person and the number one politics person in the same country or from the same country. So it's very, if you have faith and politics together, it's pretty strong.
Now, the last topic I wanted to talk to you about before we head to all these questions from our listeners, China not budging on this whole trade thing. You say they're going to budge and open up. What do you want to stay on the record, go off the record here? What's going
No,
on?
no, we came to a great deal. This morning we announced a great deal where I took away the tariffs on them and they took away the tariffs on us. So now we still have tariffs, but they're back. It's like the last couple of weeks didn't happen. We did a 90-day, we're pausing for 90 days.
So no tariffs, no backsies.
A little with the same tariffs, like they were always going to be tariffs, but it's a 10% on our stuff, 30% on theirs. And it's very strong. And but it was 145% on them. So that's a big discount we gave them. Um, but a lot of people were complaining to me, and the stock market was very strong today because it's almost like when I undo the things I do, it's good. So it's like I do something and it's bad, and then I take it away and it's good. And then my supporters don't remember that I did the bad thing in the first place and say, he's a genius. And that's why I love my supporters. They're so stupid.
So it's basically like you take a lollipop from a baby and the baby starts crying. And then you say, you know, I can make this baby happy and not cry anymore. I'm gonna give it a lollipop. And then you give it the lollipop.
I would say that, but I've eaten 10% of the lollipop, and
So
then I give
while the
it
baby was crying, you ate some of it.
well, a little bit disappeared because you can't, some of that wealth is trust. The baby doesn't have full trust anymore. Like the
Yes.
market doesn't fully trust me. But then they get it and they get 90% of the lollipop back. Like, in other words, it would be the ideal situation is if I never showed up at all. But since I'm here, I do bad, but then I get rid of most of the bad. But
That's good.
obviously, the perfect situation would be Trump never shows up and the economy keeps going 100% strong. But since I'm here, the next best option is ruin it a little bit,
And then make it great again and take credit for it.
make it 90% as great as it was before I got in office.
I like that plan. Wow. Michael C. Lots of stuff here. All right. Um,
Yeah.
we're gonna go right to the questions here. Patreon president Michael C. Good day from down under, Dr. President, sir. What do you think went
Yeah.
wrong?
Dr. President, sir. Yeah.
What do you think went wrong in Australia's election where Peter Dutton's Liberal Party lost in a landslide to Albo 93 to 40, as well as lost his seat too, despite your tremendous endorsement on JL Calvin's YouTube channel and him espousing Trump policies? It's
Yeah,
a
no,
long ass question.
but no, but I understand why he's asking it
Okay,
because Michael C. You don't know that these private, we have. You're not part of the leader. You're the tech stuff part of it, but obviously I
gotcha.
have international summits with Michael C. sometimes, and he was informing me of our guy Peter Dutton in Australia, who they say looks like Voldemort, but nerdy,
Yes.
like a nerdy Voldemort. And I gave him a very strong endorsement. And obviously Australia has gone woke, like Canada. It's sad to see because I thought, Australia, they've got some tough people there and some not so nice people. And apparently, most of the country just wants to be Hollywood actors and woke leftists. And it's sad to see because I really thought when the World War happens, I thought we could count on the strong, angry whites of Australia, but I think they're now outnumbered by woke Australians, we call them, woke Australians. So Peter Dutton was a victim of woke koala bears and leftist kangaroos and videos of giant. You ever see these videos from Australia? You see like a giant spider crawling up somebody, and you're like, "Is this a video game? Who the hell would live here?"
Now, the craziest spiders and snakes live in Australia. Does not seem like a fun place to live. Um,
Why I never go to Outback Steakhouse.
Never.
You eat
Bloomin'
your bloomin'
onion.
onion, and then there's a goddamn 12-pound spider inside of it.
Um, Mr. President, do you happen to see, speaking of snakes, there's this guy who was bit by like over 200 venomous snakes, and
To build
his
up his natural immunity.
no, but besides that, his like antibodies in his blood is basically can possibly be
That's who
a
I'm talking about.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant just him. No, yes, but his blood he can like they can share it and basically have a universal anti-venom.
Well, that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is looking into bringing, maybe we can do this with other things like, the best way to fight AIDS, according to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is let a guy with AIDS pound you in the ass, raw dog. And let 200
Too
of
high.
them do it. That's the key. The 200 is the key in terms of the snakes and the AIDS. So, that's where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is looking very strongly into these natural therapies.
Snake AIDS.
Snades. He is, but no, no, not snake. I was saying it's two set. You got to remember, you got to can't. Medicine and science are very confusing, but you can't combine the two. There's two different protocols. With snakes, you got to let the snakes bite you. If you let a guy with AIDS bite you, you're just going to have a bad bite mark. You're not going to get immunity. You have
Right.
to, and if you have sex with a snake, you're not getting immunity from the snake. It's let the snake bite you and let the AIDS person, you know, raw dog you. It's got to be
Understood.
200. The key number is 200 for each item.
Uh, this comes from our VP, Alex's iPhone G. Dr. Mr. President, Reverend Shaman Esquire, sir, following your imposition of 100% tariffs, pronounced tariffs, on foreign films, what are some of the amazing MAGA films we have in store from our friends Kirk Cameron, Kevin Sorbo, and Dinesh D'Souza? Uh,
Yes, that's right. A great question.
yeah.
Because all three of them have films that are ready to go that have been losing out to these cheaply made foreign films because, as you know, Kirk Cameron, Kevin Sorbo, and Dinesh the Sleazebag are all made in America filmmakers. So Kirk Cameron, you have a question, Tech Seth?
Well, he's just saying he also attached, can Jim Crow Records possibly maybe open up and be part of like the film industry?
No, we are. That's a good question, but we're very happy right now in terms of streaming royalties on Sirius KKK Radio is our dedicated channel to Jim Crow Records, so it's doing very strongly. So it's sort of a low cost, high reward sort of business model we built there. But as far as films, oh boy, Kirk Cameron, he's got one coming out. It's called The Woke Pope, and it's about Francis and how Francis was basically human trafficking.
Did not know
A-
that.
And yeah, you don't know that. And he was human trafficking, and he was getting very woke to cover that up. But he was a big human trafficker. And Kevin Sorbo, big guy, used to play Hercules. Remember Hercules?
Hmm.
He's going to be playing a in a new movie called Samson. Remember Sam? Yeah, the big guy with the strong hair. He had the strength through the hair, and
Yes.
then and so he's going to be playing Samson and Son. So it's a sort of combo of Samson and Delilah, with the hooker who I think cut off his hair,
Yes.
and Sanford and Son, which was a DEI show about blacks. Bum, 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 bum. And then Samson is with his son, and they're both growing hair in their garage, and which is also a junkyard. So
I
it's a
like
you
it.
have well, it's this story was made too woke by the black actors. Red Fox, I think, was in it. Not bad, not bad. I give him credit, but nope, we're done with the DEI. And then the last person was Dinesh D'Souza, who's doing a tremendous new documentary. He's obviously a very talented history and current events documentary filmmaker, and he's doing a film called Trump's Big Penis, and it's all about the women I've had sex with and some, in terms of explicit content, obviously, and how they all say that I am massively endowed and that it's really it's a heartwarming, sort of important documentary that I think all school children should see.
I was gonna say, can make it come out around the Christmas time, good for the holidays for families. I like that.
And you won't get school funding if you don't show it to your classes.
Perfect. This next question comes from Sarah Huckabee Blutarski. Sir, oh great sir, can you please give your adoring subjects a rundown of your favorite gulags and concentration camps, and what amazing suggestions do you have to make them even strongly stronger?
Well, my favorite gulag is Hungarian gulag. It's a great dish that you can get in any sort of Jewish deli. It's very tasty. But obviously, you're talking the goat. You're talking. We don't, and we don't even call it Auschwitz in our home. We call it Goatschwitz because it's the top. It's the top. It's the Michael Jordan of camps. Um, and then I would say after that, I think Russia did tremendous things in terms of gulags. Stalin obviously was sort of, I don't think Stalin gets enough credit. Hitler is sort of like the Michael Jordan of tremendous tyrants. But Stalin was kind of like a Wilt Chamberlain. He had the better stats. He had way more
Mm,
deaths. He had that big mustache, like just like Wilt Chamberlain had a mustache.
yep.
And I think what he did, that the whole Gulag system was very strong. And after that, I think I actually am a big fan of the new kid on the block, kind of the LeBron James, Steph Curry of the game, Bukaki in El Salvador, Naib Bukaki. He's a tough new talent, sort of setting new standards for the camp game. So I'd say that's a good. And that's also, by the way, the left should like that. That's kind of diverse. That was Hitler, Stalin, and like a half Middle Eastern guy in El Salvador. So that's pretty good.
I like that.
They're probably going to criticize me now, but then they'll find out it's diverse and they'll be very happy.
Um, that. Mr. President, next question comes from our good friend Robbie Mills. Sir, Mr. President, and dear leaders, sir, what are your thoughts on football great and strong sports podcaster debater Shannon Sharp and the lawsuit against him? Do you find him too radical left, or do you embrace his strong taste in women, especially those on the younger side? Thank you, your gentleness, sir.
That's a great question. That is, as always, Robbie Mills. Thank you. We always appreciate your questions. Now, Shannon Sharp is probably radical left in some places, but he reminds me of a lot of black men that support me. He's sort of a very strong alpha male misogynist. I don't think he has a tremendous amount of respect for women and possibly even black women, which, obviously I respect that. But I think the fact that he was having rough sex with a 19-year-old
Well,
white,
she's saying, I mean, the word rape and
well, it's an allegation. I was going to get to
yeah.
that, but she's saying that it's he says he rapes, she says, and we're looking into it. I think he's saying that they role played and did rough sex and that he's been set up, and that's possible because I remember I used to ask Ivanka when she was in college, when there were people in my buildings that I wanted to evict because they were black. I would send her in there to claim sexual assault at the hands of the black men who we wanted to evict. And we would say, she won't press charges if you get the hell out of our building. And
Nice.
so, yeah, so, and that was, I mean, that's a pretty nice deal. We could get
Great
you in
deal.
jail, you can get the hell out of our building. It was sort of, I mean, some people might call it racist, some people might call it other things. I call it good business.
I was gonna say
But
diplomacy. Okay.
uh, and Shannon Sharp, I think, is probably innocent because even for blacks, I tend to hate women more. So I would say he's probably innocent. And I think his only crime is, I don't like to think, let's be honest, okay? People don't like this too. I don't like to think of a big black muscular guy like Shannon Sharp destroying the insides of a gentle, kind, feminine OnlyFans teenager. But if you're gonna do it, you gotta film it. And she's saying they have a tape. You gotta film it. At least let my supporters in the South who love, when you look at their secret Pornhub rankings and they love the interracial, you gotta make, we don't like it, but we like to watch it.
If they have a tape, how is this non-consensual?
Well, she's saying she has a tape, and hey, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to make, you're not supposed to make me the woke guy.
No, I
I
know.
could give you all sorts of perspectives where it's maybe it got out of hand. Maybe she said stop, and all of a sudden he said skip and decided not to. Like when he says skip, maybe he's meaning I skip your consent. Yeah, she's like, I don't want to do that. Skip. And all of a sudden she's like, what do you mean skip? He's like the gif of him shaking his head. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you got, some testosterone fueled 55-year-old misogynistic black football player taking you to OnlyFans hell.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Um, it's gonna come from Tom Fitzgerald. That's right.
And
Another. Yep.
you know what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think Tom Fitzgerald is going to make the biggest political comeback since me. I think he wants, just like I was out of the White House for 4 years, he's taken a multi-year break. And I think Tom Fitzgerald is going to make one of the great comebacks in political podcast history.
Well,
And
you
Michael C., I guarantee you, Michael C., and we love Michael C., and we have not a bad word to say about Michael C., but I bet he's sitting there with his cat Oscar in Australia and he's digging up dirt on Tom Fitzgerald. He wants to bury that candidacy before it shows up again.
Well, Tom Fitzgerald appears again. Thank you, sir, Mr. President, sir. Have you considered dangling prima nocta with Usha Vance as a carrot to your old pal Nathan Modi to ensure we get a beautiful, strong, fair, and tough 7-Eleven deal trade with India? Presumably,
That
Vance
is an
only
absolutely greatest hits of references I've made in that one question. That's how you ask a question, people.
Presumably, Vance only knows missionary styles, so she might need cliff notes on the Karma Sutra of Modi's strong brand of Bikram yoga sex. Maybe melatonin could also assist.
I like the guy Bikram who started Bikram yoga. He was apparently accused of sexual
He wasn't too
assault.
creepy, that guy.
But what do you want? I mean, when you're doing yoga in 110 degrees and everybody's in bikinis and thongs, including the men, I feel like sexual assault you just slip into your own sweat, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in an orgy. I don't blame Bikram. I think a good guy Bikram, but that's one of the greatest questions we've ever gotten in so many ways, both what he's asking and how he asked it. I would say the problem with, Nathan Modi, my great friend Nathan Modi, the prime president of ministers in India, is a very popular, very strong leader, and he's not interested in Pusha T, JD's Vance's wife. He says, "I live in India, Donald, sir. You don't think I see enough Indian women? There's like 8 billion of them right outside my window." And he said, I want grade A American blonde. And he pointed at Ivanka. And Ivanka said, Daddy, I don't like spicy food. And I said, Darling, his cock is more musky than it is spicy. And she said, Oh, okay, Daddy. And then I said, But we're gonna do a bait and switch. I'm not letting that Nathan Modi near your cooch. We're gonna switch you out with melatonin at the last. So you're right. She's gonna be very helpful. We do kind of it's a dark room, and Ivanka does sort of like a sexy striptease dance, and then she blindfolds Nathan Modi, and as he agrees to like trade deals with us, we get him to sign on the line, and then we put him in a blindfold because he's into that, and then we say, Melatonin, this is where you take over, and she gives him some of that old quality European sex worker stuff, and we get Ivanka out of there safely, of course. But I will say this: he has no interest in Usher. Like, remember Usher? Yeah, yeah, and Modi said no, no.
No.
So JD Vance is safe. His wife is not desired by any world leaders, not even close.
Thank you, Tom Fitzgerald, for the question here. We have three questions left, Mr. President. This comes from DJ McConnell. Mr. President, sir, we know the radical left will try and stop you from serving your third term by invoking fake things like the Constitution. Have you considered a messaging strategy to combat this? I had the idea of, as a pro life Christian, you can't abort a presidency in the third term. Thank you, sir.
I sorry, I got an important message. I heard abortion and pro-life, but I'm sorry, repeat that. I apologize to everybody. Repeat the question. We had an important Truth Social message come through.
We know the radical left will try and stop you from serving your third term by invoking fake things like a constitution. Have you
Of
considered a
course.
messaging strategy to combat this?
Oh, of course, of course. The left has always said you don't abort in the third term.
Hmm.
And my third term, they'd be showing that they don't believe their own message if they try to get rid of my presidency in the third term.
I
We
like that.
carry it, we're carrying our presidency to term. Under Roe, their favorite thing under Roe.
So you make
Roe
them
versus Dwayne
hypocrites.
Roe versus Dwayne Wade.
Roe versus Dwayne Wade. I like that. This next question comes from Luke S. Doctor, Mr. President, sir, obviously woke Pope Francis has passed, and the conclave will be happening soon to pick the next pope. We know them as a strong Christian who never goes to church. You could actually probably do a better job as a pope. If you were to be chosen, what would your agenda be? We know your name would be Pope Girth the First, but what would your agenda be?
My agenda would be very pro Catholic. It'd be a very Catholic agenda. Except for the helping the poor and anti-death penalty. We'd be very pro-death penalty, very anti-helping the poor, very anti-immigrant, of course. Jesus was really not into helping people, if you really read the text. And but other than that, we'd be very anti-abortion and very fancy, very pro-fancy robes.
Mm,
And
I
we'd
like
probably invest. I think we'd probably start a Pope coin, like a crypto coin, like a Pope meme
definitely.
coin, a Pope coin, and invest some of the wealth. Possibly a Trump hotel at the Vatican. I think that's it's a luxurious site that doesn't have a truly luxurious property. So tr Trump, the Vatican Trump property. I'm not sure what we'd call it. What do you think would be a good name for the Trump property at the Vatican? The Vatican? Oh, Tiffany doesn't like that. She wants it to be called the Tiffany. Oh, that's okay. Dead air is very
Jesus
bad.
Trump. Jesus Trump.
Um, I don't know about that. I think maybe Trump Jesus. You're sort of one top billing, obviously.
You get it. It wouldn't be the last thing that they say, so that would be remember it, like Jesus Trump. You remember the Trump because that's the last word you said.
Yeah, it's nice of you to try that, but trust me, I know branding, and you want Trump Jesus.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. President, the last question here comes
Thank
from
God.
Nosy Rosie One. Mr.
Hello,
President,
Nosy
sir,
Rosie. I haven't heard that name
I know,
yet. That's
and it's a
we
solid
love them here.
question here too. On
Excellent.
on May 8th, Roger Stone's wife will be turning 79, and on a recent episode you stated that you had no intention of replacing her. With all due respect, knowing that in 2026, like yourself, she will become an octogenarian, is it not time to offer her a golden handshake?
Um, and I assume by golden handshake, does she mean like a nice retirement package for Roger
That's
Stone's
what I'm
wife?
thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
Well, I can tell you what, when I actually did, we did have her birthday. We probably should have had a live show that night. Hired like a actress to play her, but we celebrated. Her husband got her cake said forever 69, even though she was turning 79, and we have obviously, we all know Roger Stone's wife. We know what a party animal she is, what a great lady, how generous she is. So, it's funny. She never they put the words on the cake because she doesn't blow out. I'm just gonna put it in a classy way. She doesn't blow out candles on her birthday. There were 79 sticks with wax tips, but certainly weren't candles that she was blowing that night. And she's so at 80, she actually got offended. And I appreciate it because I said to her, I said, we appreciate all that you've done. We really do. There's literally thousands of men who are forever grateful for your efforts, for your patriotism. And I said, but do you think 80, we don't do mandatory retirement, of course. That's sort of like age cancel culture.
Mhm.
But we sort of say, and she slapped me in the face with the strength of hands that have given 30,000 hand jabs. She's in front of her husband, by the way, while he watches. And she slapped me so hard. It was like one of those videos of the big beefy guys slapping each other, like slap fights. She could do slap fights, and then she would resuscitate the guy she knocks out with a nice candle blowing. But she slapped me in the face and said, if you ever suggest that I retire, and I don't care if the Secret Service hears this, I'll take you out. Because she's a tough lady and she loves what she does. And I think that's a great lesson to everybody that she said the way she wants to die, if she can help it, is this is a family podcast. So I'm just going to say
Whatever you
drowning
want
in
this.
mayonnaise.
Okay.
That's just to keep it family friendly. Mayonnaise is a delicious condiment.
It is.
And by the way, Roger Stone's wife does not believe in condiments either. But and I thought that was, it's the last time I'd ask her to retire because just like I would be offended if somebody said, do I want to retire from business or the presidency? So no, there's no golden handshake for her. There is, just a mayonnaise waterfall is all she wants.
Awesome.
Don't go chasing mayo waterfalls. 'Cause you're almost 80 and you might actually drown.
Props to the first line. Mr. President, thank you so much for answering all these questions and spending another week with us. We know you're a very busy man. Shows coming up. If you're in the New York City area, I'll be at Al Key in Harlem on June 14th at 8 p.m. And I'll be at Michael's in Island Park on Long Island June 20th at 8 p.m. So just some more dates coming for the summertime. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, everybody. And hey, everybody, it's me. It's JL. Wow. Just one big show coming up in a little over 2 weeks to all my Canadian fans. I know, like as of 2 weeks ago, the show was already two-thirds sold out. Ottawa. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Ottawa, Yuck Yucks, May 29th, 8 p.m. Um, I think we're gonna sell the show out, so please spread the word. Get your tickets if you haven't. Looking forward to that, and then just there'll be other shows, and just if you're still listening, I obviously have my other Patreon, which you can join or not join. It's not expensive, but I have a new Facebook page. It's like a page. It's not like my friend page. So if you haven't liked or followed that, please do. My videos have been getting a lot of traction on that page, so I'd like to keep building that momentum. So just look up JL Covan. It should be like my normal page, which has me in like a winter coat, and then like my headshot from like 2018 when I was in shape and full of hope. That's the one you should like or follow. And yeah, so hope to see you in Ottawa. And thanks for listening. Please leave a 5-star review for the show wherever you listen to it. If you've never done that, it's never too late, but it's kind of late, so do it now. And obviously we're always promoting the Patreon. It's always got tons of great stuff every month, so maybe give that a shot for the patreon.com/mpga. That's it. Appreciate you listening. Hopefully you made it this far. God help us all.